The year was 2157. The deep space vessel Artemis glided silently through the darkness beyond Neptune's orbit. Commander Lisa Gray stood at the main viewport, watching the stars. After 15 years of service in Earth's unified space fleet, she still felt wonder at the sight. "Commander, we're picking up something unusual," said Lieutenant Sam Foster from his station. His fingers moved quickly over the glowing control panel. "Energy signature unlike anything in our database." Lisa turned from the viewport. "Show me." The main screen lit up with a swirl of blue and green light. It pulsed in a pattern that seemed almost alive. "Natural phenomenon?" she asked. Chief Science Officer Alan Weiss shook his head. "Not likely. The pattern is too regular, too controlled." He looked up from his instruments with wide eyes. "I believe we're looking at a ship. Or ships." Lisa felt her heart beat faster. Humanity had wondered for centuries if they were alone in the universe. There had been promising signs, microbial, fossils on Mars, simple organisms in Europa's oceans, but never contact with another intelligent species. "All stations yellow alert," she said calmly, though her pulse raced. "Open all scanning frequencies, let's see who's out there." The bridge crew worked in tense silence for several minutes before Communications Officer Elena Rivera spoke up. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission. It's not in any human language, but the computer is attempting to translate based on mathematical patterns." "Put it through," Lisa ordered. The speakers crackled to life with a series of musical tones and clicks. Then, slowly, the alien sounds transformed into halting English. "Greetings, human vessel. This is High Speaker Vexlor of the Galactic Concordat. We come in peace and fellowship." Lisa exchanged glances with her officers before responding. "This is Commander Lisa Gray of the Earth vessel Artemis. We return your peaceful greetings." Over the next hour, they learned that the Galactic Concordat was an alliance of 7 advanced species who had maintained peace across 3 spiral arms of the Milky Way for thousands of years. They had been watching Earth's development for centuries, waiting for humans to develop the technology for deep space travel. "We would be honored if you would dock with our diplomatic vessel for face-to-face discussions," Vexlor's translated voice offered. "We understand if you require time to consider." Lisa muted the transmission and turned to her senior staff. "Thoughts?" "It could be a trap," said Security Chief Owen Miller, his hand resting near his sidearm. "We know nothing about them." "Or the greatest opportunity in human history," countered Dr. Weiss. "First contact with an advanced galactic civilization," Lisa nodded at both points. "Elena, send a message to Earth Command with all details of this encounter. Owen, prepare a security team. Dr. Weiss, assemble your science staff. We're going to accept their invitation, but we'll proceed with caution." The Artemis approached the alien vessel, a massive structure that resembled a glittering blue snowflake, at least 5 times larger than their ship. As they drew closer, Lisa noticed intricate patterns etched across its surface that seemed to shift and change as they watched. The docking procedure went smoothly. Lisa led her team through the airlock, trying to project confidence despite her racing thoughts. The air inside the alien ship smelled faintly of cinnamon and ozone. They were met by a delegation of beings unlike anything humans had imagined. High Speaker Vexlor was tall and crystalline, with a body that appeared to be made of living blue-white crystal that refracted light in mesmerizing patterns. Behind the speaker stood representatives of other species. One resembled a 6-limbed feline with iridescent fur. Another was plant-like with bark-textured skin and leaves that rustled with each movement. A third floated in a transparent sphere, filled with amber liquid. "Welcome, humans," Vexlor said, the crystal body vibrating to produce sounds that the translation devices converted to English. "This is a historic day for all our peoples." Lisa stepped forward. "Thank you for your welcome, High Speaker. We're honored to represent Earth in this first meeting." The aliens led them to a circular chamber with a large table that adjusted its height to accommodate the various species. As they walked, Lisa noticed the aliens kept glancing at the humans, their movement suggesting both curiosity and something else. Caution, perhaps. During the meeting, the Concordat representatives explained their alliance's history and structure. They asked many questions about Earth and human physiology, which Dr. Weiss answered enthusiastically. Your species has evolved in a remarkably harsh environment, noted a small bird-like alien who had introduced herself as Scholar Trill. Your planet's gravity, temperature variations, and atmospheric composition would be challenging for most sentient species. We've never considered Earth particularly harsh, Lisa replied. It's just home. The aliens exchanged glances that Lisa couldn't interpret. After several hours of discussion, Lisa noticed Dr. Weiss studying his handheld scanner with a puzzled expression. When they took a brief break, he pulled her aside. "Commander, I'm getting unusual readings from our new friends," he whispered. "Each time one of us shows any emotion, even just smiling or frowning, their biological signatures show stress responses. It's as if they're afraid of us." Lisa frowned. "That doesn't make sense. Their technology is clearly far beyond ours. What would they have to fear?" Before Weiss could answer, High Speaker Vexilor approached them, crystal body glimmering under the room's lights. "Commander Gray, the Concordat would like to formally invite Earth to send representatives to the Galactic Council. It is time for your species to join the greater community of worlds." The speaker held out a small crystal. "This contains star charts, historical records, and communication protocols to help prepare your people." Lisa accepted the crystal carefully. "Thank you, High Speaker. Earth will be honored to join the Galactic Council." As they prepared to return to their ship, Lisa noticed one last strange interaction. The plant-like alien leaned close to Vexlor and whispered something that their translators barely caught. "Dormancy assessment must be monitored." On the shuttle back to Artemis, Security Chief Miller voiced what many were thinking. They were studying us, not just as new contacts, but like scientists examining specimens. Lisa nodded slowly, turning the data crystal over in her hands. "Whatever their interest in us, we've just opened the door to the galaxy. Once we return to Earth with this news, nothing will ever be the same." What none of them knew was that in a secured chamber of the Concordat vessel, the alien representatives were having their own discussion. "The humans show all the markers," Scholar Trill said, displaying biological scans. "Their physical resilience, their predatory adaptations, their psychological responses to threats, all consistent with the destroyer profile." High Speaker Vexlor's crystalline form dimmed slightly. "But they appear peaceful, diplomatic." "Dormant," corrected another alien. "Let us hope they remain so. The ancient texts are clear. Beware the species that masters fire and death yet walks with a smile. They are gods of war in peaceful slumber." The High Speaker turned to gaze at the departing human vessel. "Then we shall work to ensure they never awaken." 6 months had passed since the Artemis returned to Earth with news of first contact. The world had changed overnight. People walked the streets looking up at the stars with new wonder and fear. Nations that had fought for centuries now worked together, preparing for Earth's new role in the galaxy. Lieutenant Kate Morrison sat alone in a secure room deep beneath Washington, D.C. For weeks, she had studied the data crystal given to Commander Gray by the aliens. As one of Earth's top codebreakers, she was assigned to analyze every piece of information the Concordat had shared. Most of the data was straightforward: star maps, basic history of the 7 alien species, technological information the aliens deemed safe to share. But Kate had found something else: hidden layers of data, encrypted beneath the surface. "Got you," she whispered, as her program finally broke through another security wall. Her screen filled with alien text that slowly translated into English. Her eyes widened as she read. These were not the friendly welcome messages shared with the public. These were classified Concordat files about humans. "Species assessment, human, Terra," she read aloud. "Classification, dormant apex predator. Threat level, severe if awakened." Kate scrolled through the document, her hands trembling slightly. The aliens had been watching Earth for centuries. They had collected data on human biology, psychology, and history, and what they saw terrified them. One section described human physical abilities. "Humans possess extreme physical resilience uncommon in sentient species. They can survive injuries that would kill most Concordat members. They continue functioning despite damage to limbs, blood loss, and extreme pain. Their bodies heal from injuries that would be fatal to evolved species. This suggests possible relation to ancient destroyer bioengineering. Another section discussed human psychology. Most disturbing is the human stress response. When threatened, their bodies release chemicals that temporarily transform them into war machines, increasing strength, blocking pain, and focusing all resources on survival or combat. This fight-or-flight mechanism matches forbidden combat engineering from the Lost Era. Kate leaned back in her chair, trying to process what she was reading. The aliens believed humans were dangerous, not because of their technology, which was primitive by galactic standards, but because of what humans were. She gathered her findings and took them directly to Admiral Paul Bennett, the newly appointed head of Earth's Unified Space Command. The Admiral's office had a large window, overlooking the new spaceport being built outside the city. Construction crews worked day and night on ships designed with Concordat technical assistance. "Are you certain about this translation?" Admiral Bennett asked after reviewing her report. Kate nodded. "Yes, sir. I've triple-checked it. The Concordat sees us as dangerous, possibly related to some ancient species they fear." Admiral Bennett stroked his gray beard. "They've been nothing but helpful on the surface, sharing technology, inviting us to join their council. It seems they prefer to keep us close where they can watch us," Kate said. "The files mention something called the Dormancy Protocol several times, though I haven't found details yet." The Admiral looked troubled. "Assemble a small team. This stays classified for now. We don't want to create panic. I want Dr. Olivia Nash from Berkeley and Major Ryan Hoffman from Strategic Command." 3 days later, Kate met with her new team in a secure facility. Dr. Nash was a small woman with quick eyes and nervous energy. She had spent her career studying the psychology of war across human cultures. Major Hoffman was tall and solid, with a calm presence that filled the room. "The Admiral has briefed us," Dr. Nash said. "These findings are fascinating from an anthropological perspective. The aliens evolved in environments with fewer threats and less competition than Earth. What seems normal to us appears monstrous to them," Major Hoffman added. "I reviewed the combat assessments they made of us. They're shocked that our soldiers train to fight while injured or exhausted. That's just standard procedure for us." Kate pulled up new files on the screen. "I've decrypted more data. Look at this." The screen showed images of human history: wars, natural disasters, explorations into harsh environments. Below each image were alien notes describing human aggression patterns and survival adaptations. They're particularly concerned about how quickly we advance technologically during conflicts, Dr. Nash noted. World War II accelerated aviation, nuclear science, and computing. The water crisis of the 2030s led to breakthrough terraforming techniques we later used on Mars. "Pressure makes us create," Major Hoffman said. "It's how we've always survived." Kate pointed to another file. "This is the most concerning part. They believe we might be descendants of something they call the Destroyers, an ancient race that nearly wiped out galactic civilization 50,000 years ago." Dr. Nash leaned forward. "That's impossible. 50,000 years ago, humans were just developing early agriculture." "Unless," Major Hoffman said slowly, "those weren't the first humans." The room fell silent as they considered the implications. Meanwhile, across the solar system at the newly established human-alien diplomatic station near Mars, Ambassador Daniel White smiled and shook hands with alien representatives. He believed the relationship between Earth and the Concordat was growing stronger each day. The plant-like alien named Thoran leaned toward High Speaker Vexilor as they watched the human diplomat greet others. "The containment strategy proceeds as planned?" Thoran asked quietly. Vexilor's crystal body glimmered. "Yes, we provide them with carefully selected technology. Nothing that could be weaponized. The Dormancy Protocol will ensure they remain peaceful. And if they discover our true concerns?" "They must not," Vexilor replied. "You've seen the historical simulations. If humans ever felt truly threatened as a species, if they ever fully awakened their dormant capabilities." The speaker didn't finish the sentence. Both aliens watched Ambassador White laugh at something another diplomat said. His teeth, the teeth of a predator species, flashed white. Back on Earth, Kate's team worked through the night, piecing together the hidden truth about humanity's new place in the galaxy. As dawn broke over Washington, Admiral Bennett called an emergency meeting with Earth's leadership. "We need to proceed carefully," he told Kate before they entered the meeting room. "The Concordat has technology centuries beyond ours. If they wanted to destroy us, they could. Instead, they're treating us like a sleeping predator they don't want to startle." Kate nodded. "The question is, sir, what happens when we finally wake up?" 1 year after first contact, the Proxima transfer station hung in space like a giant wheel, spinning slowly near Earth's moon. It was humanity's first major project built with alien technology, a gateway to the stars. Humans and aliens worked, side by side on the station, sharing knowledge and culture. Gregory Martinez wiped sweat from his forehead as he tightened the last bolt on the cooling system. At 28, he was one of the youngest engineers selected for the Proxima project. "How's it looking, Greg?" asked Susan Powell, his supervisor. She floated toward him in the zero gravity of the station's outer ring. "Almost done," Greg replied. "Just need to run a final pressure test." Nearby, 2 aliens from the Lorathi species, tall, thin beings with blue-gray skin, watched the humans work. The Lorathi were the engineers of the Concordat, masters of building in space. But Greg had noticed they always seemed nervous around humans. One of the Lorathi, named Vril, turned to his companion. "The humans work quickly, but their methods lack precision." The second Lorathi, Malo, fluttered his gill-like breathing flaps. "They take too many risks. Did you see how that female climbed outside the safety zone yesterday? No Lorathi would do that." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the section. Red lights flashed on the wall panels. "Hull breach in Section 7, Susan shouted, checking her tablet. "Micrometeor strike. The section is losing pressure." Greg's heart pounded. Section 7 was where Alicia Ward and Derek Collins were installing new communication equipment along with 3 Lorathi engineers. "We need to get there now," Greg said, pushing off the wall toward the emergency locker. He grabbed rescue packs with oxygen masks and sealed patches for the hull breach. Susan was already on her communicator. "This is Supervisor Powell. We have a breach in Section 7. Sending a rescue team now." When Greg and Susan reached the sealed emergency doors to Section 7, they found the station's security chief, Alicia Ward, already there. Her dark skin was covered in sweat, and a cut on her forehead dripped blood that formed perfect spheres in the zero gravity. "Derek and 3 Lorathi are still inside," Alicia reported. "The section is down to 30% air pressure and falling. The emergency doors sealed automatically when the breach was detected." "We can't wait for a full rescue team," Greg said. "They'll suffocate before help arrives." Susan nodded. "Let's go. We'll need to patch the breach first, then get everyone out." They put on emergency breathing masks and opened the sealed door just enough to slip inside. The air was thin, and Greg's ears popped painfully as they moved through the depressurized section. They found Derek Collins trying to move an injured Lorathi toward the door. The alien's leg was trapped under a fallen equipment rack. The other, 2 Lorathi huddled nearby, their breathing flaps moving rapidly in panic. "The breach is over there." Derek pointed to a small hole in the wall where air hissed out into space. "I tried to patch it, but I couldn't leave Zenny." Greg and Susan moved quickly to the breach while Alicia helped Derek with the injured Lorathi. Greg's hands shook as he applied the emergency patch to the hole. The patch expanded and hardened, sealing the breach. "Pressure stabilizing at 25%, Susan reported, checking the readings on her wrist device. "Let's get everyone out before the section fails completely." Greg turned to help with the trapped Lorathi. Together, they lifted the heavy equipment rack while Derek pulled the alien free. The Lorathi's leg was badly broken, blue fluid seeping from the wound. "Can you understand me?" Greg asked the injured alien. "We need to move you through the emergency door. It will hurt." The Lorathi's large eyes blinked rapidly. "Yes, understand. Pain is acceptable." Greg and Derek carried the injured Lorathi, while Susan helped the other 2 aliens. Alicia led the way, securing their path to the emergency exit. The air grew thinner with each passing minute. Greg's lungs burned and his vision started to blur. Warning lights flashed on his oxygen mask, showing that the emergency supply was running low. But he kept moving, supporting the injured alien's weight. Almost there, Alicia called from ahead. Just as they reached the exit, a secondary explosion rocked the section. A power conduit had overloaded, sending shards of metal flying through the air. A piece struck Greg in the shoulder, and he felt a sharp pain followed by warmth as blood soaked his uniform. Despite the injury, Greg maintained his grip on the Lorathi. They pushed through the emergency door into the pressurized section beyond, where a medical team waited. As doctors treated the wounded, Greg noticed the uninjured Lorathi watching the humans with strange expressions. "You are bleeding," one of them said to Greg, pointing at his shoulder. Greg looked down as a medic cut away his uniform to treat the wound. "It's not too bad." "But you continued functioning despite injury," the Lorathi said, his voice filled with something like awe. "And you risked death to save Zenny, who is not of your species." Before Greg could respond, he was taken away for treatment. Later that day, in a secure communication room on the station, High Speaker Vexlor received an urgent message from the Lorathi engineers. "The humans displayed concerning behaviors during today's emergency," reported Mallow, still visibly shaken. "They ignored their own injuries, continued functioning in extreme conditions, and showed no fear of death. These are the exact traits mentioned in the dormancy protocol warnings." Vexlor's crystalline body dimmed with concern. "Send me all footage and medical data from the incident." On Earth, Admiral Bennett reviewed the same footage, sent secretly by Kate Morrison, who was now stationed on Proxima as an intelligence officer. "What do you see?" Bennett asked Dr. Nash, who studied the video carefully. "I see humans doing what humans have always done in emergencies," she replied. "Working together, ignoring pain, focusing on saving lives. What's interesting is the aliens' reaction. They're shocked by behavior we consider normal." Major Hoffman nodded in agreement. "To them, our basic emergency response looks like some kind of super soldier protocol. Notice how they keep scanning the injured humans, especially when Greg Martinez continues to help despite his shoulder wound. They're looking for something," Kate added. "Something they expect to see when humans are under extreme stress." "Admiral," Bennett stared at the screen, watching the aliens watch the humans. "They're looking for signs of awakening, and they're afraid of what they might see." Meanwhile, at the Galactic Council headquarters in a distant star system, Ambassador Daniel White attended his first full council session, unaware of the events at Proxima Station or the secret team investigating the Concordate's true motives. "Earth is honored to join this ancient and wise community of worlds," he told the assembled alien representatives. "We have much to learn from you, and perhaps something to offer in return." In the highest tier of the council chamber, 7 ancient beings, the Senior Council of the Concordate, watched the human with calculating eyes. "The containment approach is failing," one whispered. "Incidents like today's emergency response show their dormant traits are easily triggered." "Then we must implement the full dormancy protocol," another replied, "before they fully awaken to what they truly are." 18 months after first contact, Europa Colony gleamed like a jewel on the icy moon of Jupiter. 7,000 humans lived under its clear domes, studying the alien life forms in the vast ocean below the ice and working with Concordate scientists. Frank Cooper stood at the main viewport of Dome 3, watching his 10-year-old daughter Lily play with other children in the community garden. After losing his wife to cancer on Earth, Frank had brought Lily to Europa for a fresh start. Here, she smiled again. "Beautiful sight, isn't it?" said Dr. Olivia Nash, who had recently arrived from Earth. She stood beside Frank, looking out at the children. Frank nodded. "Sometimes I forget we're on a moon millions of miles from Earth." Dr. Nash smiled, but her eyes remained serious. She had not come to Europa Colony just to admire the view. Admiral Bennett had sent her to quietly warn the colony leadership about the team's discoveries regarding the Concordate's true views of humanity. Before she could respond, alarms blared throughout the dome. Red warning lights flashed across the ceiling. "Attention, all colonists," the emergency system announced. Unknown. Vessels approaching. This is not a drill. All personnel report to emergency stations. Frank grabbed Lily and ran with the other parents toward the nearest shelter. Dr. Nash followed, her mind racing. This wasn't supposed to happen. The Concordat had pledged to protect human settlements. In orbit above Europa, 3 ships appeared, suddenly from faster-than-light travel. They were not the elegant blue vessels of the Concordat, but jagged red warships of a design no human had seen before. Valori battle cruisers, a Concordat representative on the colony gasped when he saw the images. How did they get past our defenses? The answer came too late. The Valori ships opened fire on the colony domes. Energy beams sliced through the protective shields as if they weren't there. The main dome cracked, exposing colonists to the deadly vacuum of space. Frank pushed Lily into an emergency pod just before their section depressurized. The last thing he saw was his daughter's terrified face as the pod sealed and launched toward the escape ships. The attack lasted only 20 minutes. When it ended, Europa colony lay in ruins. Of the 7,000 colonists, only 2,000 escaped. Frank Cooper was not among them. News of the attack reached Earth hours later. Admiral Bennett watched the footage in horror alongside the President and Joint Chiefs of Staff. "Who are the Valori?" the President demanded. "A minor species within the Concordat," Admiral Bennett explained. "Militaristic, but technologically inferior to the major powers. According to our intelligence, they've always opposed including humanity in galactic affairs." "This was no random attack," said Kate Morrison, now promoted to commander. "They specifically targeted life support systems and escape routes. They wanted maximum casualties." The President's face hardened. And where was the Concordat during all this? They promised protection. As if in answer, a transmission came in from high-speaker Vexilor. The crystalline alien's form appeared less bright than usual. "We offer our deepest regrets for this tragedy," the alien said. "The Valori ships bypassed our defense network using stolen technology. They are rebels who do not represent the Concordat. We have already dispatched forces to find and punish them." After the transmission ended, the room fell silent. "They're lying," Major Hoffman said finally. "Our sensors would have detected ships approaching Europa even with stealth technology. The Concordat knew this was coming." "Not the entire Concordat," Dr. Nash corrected, having returned from Europa just before the attack. "Based on our intelligence, a faction within their leadership believes humans are too dangerous to allow into galactic society. They fear we will awaken and become like these destroyers from their ancient history. So they test us, Admiral," Bennett said grimly. "They want to see how we respond to an attack." The President stood, her decision made. "Then let's show them. Admiral, you have full authority to protect our people. All military branches will operate under unified space command until this crisis ends." Within days, Earth's response began. Ships that had been under construction with Concordat assistance were quickly finished, and armed with weapons Earth had developed in secret. Colonial defense systems were strengthened. The people of Earth united as they rarely had before. On Mars, Colony, Lily Cooper and the other Europa survivors told their stories. Images of the destroyed colony and lists of the dead spread across human settlements. A quiet rage built among the population. Ambassador White demanded answers from the Galactic Council but received only vague assurances. In private meetings, he noticed how the alien representatives watched humans with increasing unease, as if expecting something to happen. 2 weeks after the Europa attack, the Valori struck again. This time they targeted a research station near Saturn. But this time, Earth was ready. The newly commissioned defense fleet intercepted the Valori ships before they could reach the station. What followed shocked the watching Concordat observers. Human ships, though technically inferior, maneuvered with incredible speed and daring. Human pilots ignored dangerous radiation levels, pushing their ships beyond design limits. When a human vessel was damaged, the crew continued fighting even as they made repairs. No one retreated, no one surrendered. The Valori, expecting an easy victory like at Europa, found themselves facing something else entirely. Humans who had nothing left to lose. They fight like the ancient legends, one Concordat observer reported, back to the council. Their neural patterns show activation in dormant brain regions that match exactly the destroyer profiles from the historical records. The Valori fleet was destroyed. Only one ship escaped to report back to their hidden base. Admiral Bennett reviewed the battle data with his team. Our pilots showed unusual focus and coordination, Dr. Nash noted. Reaction times 20%, faster than normal training scenarios. It's more than that, said Commander Morrison. Look at these brain scans from the pilots during combat. There are activities in regions we don't typically use. Major Hoffman studied the images. It's like parts of their brains woke up when they needed them. The Concordat has a name for this, Admiral Bennett said. They call it awakening. It's what they've feared all along. Across the solar system, human military forces reported similar phenomena. Soldiers and pilots in combat situations displayed increased strength, enhanced awareness, and total focus. Medical teams documented healing rates that defied normal human limits. On Proxima Station, Greg Martinez, now fully recovered from his injuries during the earlier emergency, watched the news reports of the battle with the other engineers. Something's changing, he told Susan Powell quietly. I can feel it. It's like we're all becoming more aware. Susan nodded. The aliens feel it too. Have you noticed how they watch us now? Not with curiosity anymore. With fear. In a secure chamber on the Concordat homeworld, the senior council met in emergency session. It has begun, said the eldest member, a being so ancient its species was unknown even to most Concordat members. The humans are awakening just as the prophecies warned. Their dormant abilities are manifesting under stress. Then we must implement the final solution, said another, before they fully transform. High Speaker Vexlor's crystal form pulsed, with light. There is another possibility. Perhaps what we are seeing is not the return of the destroyers, but something new. Something we have not encountered before. Impossible, said the eldest. The genetic markers are clear. These humans carry the destroyer bloodline. Yes, agreed Vexlor, but perhaps they carry something else as well. The massive Concordat fleet appeared in Earth's solar system without warning. 100 ships, each larger than anything humans had built, took positions around Earth, Mars, and the major human outposts. Their weapons remained powered down, but the message was clear. Admiral Bennett stood on the bridge of the newly completed defense vessel Guardian, watching the alien ships on the main screen. They could have attacked immediately, Commander Kate Morrison said, but they didn't. What are they waiting for? Us, the Admiral replied. They want to see what we'll do. The human fleet gathered in defensive positions. In the 2 months since the Valori attacks, Earth had built ships at an incredible pace. Scientists had made breakthroughs in weapons technology that would have taken years in peacetime. Children who lost parents at Europa were now training as pilots, their skills developing faster than any training program had seen before. Something was changing in humanity. The signs were small at first. Faster reaction times, increased strength under pressure, wounds healing more quickly than normal. But as the crisis deepened, these changes became more pronounced. Humans were accessing abilities that had lain dormant for thousands of years. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Concordat flagship, reported the communications officer. The main screen showed the familiar crystal form of High Speaker Vexlor, but behind him stood other aliens, the senior council rarely seen by outsiders. People of Earth, Vexlor began. Recent events have forced us to confront the truth about your species. Our ancient records are clear. You carry the genetic markers of the destroyers, beings who nearly ended all life in the galaxy 50,000 years ago before mysteriously disappearing. A murmur ran through the bridge crew. The Valori attacks, while not authorized by the Council, revealed what we feared. Your species is awakening to its true nature. For the safety of all worlds, we ask that you submit to the Dormancy Protocol, a process that will suppress these dangerous traits while allowing your civilization to live in peace. Admiral Bennett's face remained calm, but his voice was firm. And if we refuse? An older alien stepped forward. Then we must take action to ensure you cannot threaten galactic peace. The transmission ended. The Admiral turned to his staff. Options? Our fleet is outnumbered 5-1, Major Hoffman reported. Even with our new weapons, we can't win a direct fight. We should buy time, suggested Commander Morrison. Request a meeting with the Senior Council. Ambassador White can present our case. Admiral Bennett nodded. Make the arrangements and send for Dr. Nash. We'll need her insights on what they really want. 3 days later, Ambassador Daniel White entered the enormous council chamber aboard the Concordat flagship. Behind him stood Admiral Bennett, Dr. Nash, and Commander Morrison. Across the room, the 7 members of the Senior Council watched from elevated seats. White had spent the past days studying the secret files Kate had discovered, learning the truth about the Concordat's fears and plans for humanity. Now he faced the most important diplomatic mission in human history. Honorable Council, he began. You fear us because of what we might become, not what we are. Yes, humanity carries the capacity for tremendous violence. Our history proves that. But we've learned to channel these same drives toward creation, exploration, and protection. The eldest council member leaned forward. Your kind destroyed worlds before. The genetic evidence is undeniable. You are the destroyers reborn. Dr. Nash stepped forward. May I speak? When the council nodded, she continued. We've studied your records carefully. Yes, there are similarities between human genetics and your destroyer samples. But there are crucial differences you've overlooked. She displayed images on the chamber's holographic system. These are human brain scans during normal conditions and during crisis. The awakening you fear isn't making us mindless killers. It's activating higher brain functions, increasing empathy alongside protective instincts. The council members exchanged glances. What Dr. Nash is saying, Ambassador White continued, is that we may share ancestry with these destroyers, but we took a different path. We evolved to balance our capacity for violence with our capacity for compassion. High-speaker Vexilor's crystal form pulsed with light. Yet the Europa colony was destroyed, 7,000 lives ended, and we responded by defending, not destroying, Admiral Bennett said. We could have attacked Concordat worlds in revenge. We had the coordinates, we had the capability, but we chose to protect, not avenge. A murmur ran through the council chamber. There's something else you should know, said Commander Morrison, stepping forward. She nodded to a guard who brought forward a small container. We decrypted your containment plans months ago. We knew about the dormancy protocol before the Valori attacks. The Senior Council shifted uncomfortably. If we were truly the threat you fear, Morrison continued, we would have struck first. Instead, we chose diplomacy. As the council deliberated among themselves, emergency alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. A Concordat officer rushed into the chamber. Senior Council, unknown vessels have entered the system. They matched no known configuration. The main screen activated, showing strange ships moving toward both human and Concordat fleets. Their design was organic and threatening, with weapons unlike anything seen before. The Deep Void ship, gasped one council member. The ancient enemy returns. 3 of the unknown ships fired on a Concordat cruiser, cutting it in half with beams of green energy. 2 more moved toward Earth. In the chaos that followed, humans and Concordat forces found themselves fighting side by side against the new threat. Human ships moved with incredible speed and daring, while Concordat vessels provided powerful shields and weapons. Aboard the Guardian, Admiral Bennett coordinated the defensive effort. The ship shook from a near miss. The unknown vessels are targeting population centers on Earth and Mars, reported a tactical officer. Intercept them at all costs, Bennett ordered. Coordinate with the Concordat ships. We protect all civilian areas, human and alien. The battle raged for hours. Human crews pushed themselves beyond normal limits, accessing the dormant abilities that had so worried the Concordat. But now those abilities served to protect, not destroy. When it ended, half the Concordate fleet was damaged or destroyed. The human fleet had suffered worse losses, but Earth was safe. The unknown enemy had retreated back into deep space. In the aftermath, Admiral Bennett met again with the senior council. "You called them the Deep Void ships," he said. "You faced them before." The eldest council member nodded slowly. "They are why the destroyers were created long ago, living weapons to fight an enemy that consumes all life. But the destroyers turned on their creators and nearly destroyed the galaxy before suddenly vanishing." "Perhaps they didn't vanish," suggested Dr. Nash. "Perhaps they changed." High Speaker Vexilor studied the humans with new understanding. The destroyers realized what they were becoming and chose to seal away their most destructive powers. They became humans. "And now the ancient enemy returns," said Ambassador White. "You need us, not as mindless weapons, but as willing defenders." 1 month later, Commander Lisa Gray of the Artemis, who had first made contact with the Concordate, stood on the bridge of a new ship, the Hope. Around her worked a mixed crew of humans and aliens. "The Deep Void ships will return," said her Novian first officer. "They always do," Commander Gray nodded. "And we'll be ready, not as destroyers but as protectors." In schools across Earth and the colonies, children like Lily Cooper learned a new history, how humans carried both the legacy of destruction and the promise of salvation, how the capacity for violence could be balanced with the capacity for love. And in the stars, human and alien ships patrolled together, watching for dangers from the deep void, grateful that the dormant war gods of Earth had awakened not to destroy but to defend.